Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Varsity Aces show. I'm sports writer Greg Mattura for NorthJersey.com. Tonight's topic, football. We are at about the midway point of the New Jersey high school football season, and a bunch of players and teams have put up some incredible numbers through the first 6 or so games of the season. We have a couple of guests on tonight who have put up some incredible numbers, and we'll be talking to them about their accomplishments as well as their coaches. So let's get right to it. Our first guest of the evening from Hackensack, a senior multi-sport standout, running back and defensive back. Again, from Hackensack, Curtis Whiting. Curtis, how are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. How are you?
It's a pleasure. And Comet's first-year coach and alum, Brett Ressler. Brett, how are you?
Doing great, Greg. Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure. Again, love talking football. So let's get right down to it. Curtis, you are here because you ran for a school record number of yards in a game as well as a number of touchdowns. 305 yards rushing, a school record for a game, and 7 touchdowns, also a school record in the 49-12 victory last weekend over Passaic. First question, what's going through your mind as you're collecting all these yards in this game?
Thanks for having me again. That's an honor. Before we start, I want to say thank you to my offensive line. I wouldn't be here without them. Shalik Hubbard, Darius Elliott, William Johnson, Jermaine Frost, and Michael Grant. And thanks to our quarterback, Matt Flores, for not fumbling any snaps, giving me the ball, and our fullback, Elijah Abuaje. I appreciate him as well. Without all those guys, I couldn't do it. And back to your question, you said what was my thoughts before the game?
During the game, as you're accumulating the yards.
During the game, honestly, I just wanted to get the win at first. So we come out, we ran 44 blast, Eagle 44 blast. So I know that's our money play right there. I knew we were going to go to it first play of the game. We come out, we go 50 yards down the field. Second play of the game, I scored within 30 seconds of the game. So I'm like, yeah, it's going to be a pretty good game for us. We needed that game to, get our seating up in the playoffs. So I come to the sideline. Our coach is like, yo, looking like me out there. Our coach, Kaleem Hazel, a former running back that we had, who was also a record holder for our school and also had the record tied at our school for 6 touchdowns in the game. He's like, looking like me out there. So once I got into the game more and more, I got 3, 4, and 5 touchdowns. He's like, yo, you might have a chance to break it tonight. I thought he was joking at first. Then when I got 6, it started feeling real to me. So I think I had a chance to get it. And my dad was like, yeah, take him out. It's a pretty historic record in our school history. So he took us out because, whoever gets it, they usually tie the record. But then the record holder, Billy Harris, called my dad at halftime and was like, let him break it. He actually had the record since 1959. So went back in the second half, got 2 carries and scored on the second one. And I was ecstatic when I broke the record. The fans were going crazy. The crowd was erupting.
Look at that. We're interviewing a teenager who actually has an understanding of the history of his school. Good job getting the compliments out to your linemen early in the interview. Rumor has it that they were going to put a bad hurt on you tomorrow at practice if you didn't show them the sufficient love during this interview.
Yeah, I love those guys.
Brett, your thoughts, were you just going to the same play call or just saying, okay, let's give Curtis the ball over and over again? He didn't have that many carries, but he had so many big gains that you probably didn't have too many long drives in that game. What's going through your head as you keep calling his number and you're getting good results?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Curtis is like, coach, you got to, give me the ball back. Give me the ball. Like, nah, we have a script that we like to stick to. A lot of times, we go over what we practice, and obviously what we practice well, gets to be on that final game plan. So, and then when it comes to game time, just like in anything, you got to ride your hot hand a little bit. So that's what ended up happening. Curtis was running the ball well. We were blocking well up front in a couple of our schemes. So we just decided to stick with it and ride it all out. So Curtis and the O-line and the receivers blocking downfield did a pretty tremendous job for us. And, we didn't have many long drives. Like you said, I think we had a couple drives that were only 3 or 4 plays. The first drive was only 2. So he kind of made some things happen when he had the ball in his hands.
Now, again, we have some statistical leaders courtesy of teammates Darren Cooper and super statistician Jim McConville. Curtis, the second runner in North Jersey to break 1,000 yards this past weekend. As you can see, he's number 2, top left of the screen with 1,016 yards. We also have Josh Padawani of Lakeland, also a senior, who's the leading rusher with 1,101 yards. Curtis, Brett had told me coming into the season. It's not like they were looking at you to give them 1,000+ yards rushing, just looking for you to do your usual thing, which is the best you can in all aspects of the game. Your thoughts on already being over 1,000 yards rushing this season in just 6 games?
Okay, so for me personally, I didn't have any personal goals for season or anything like that. I just wanted to get some wins, honestly, to be honest with you. And Hackensack football, its tradition is running the football and just being hard-nosed and tough. So I figured that we're going to have a pretty tough running game, hard to stop. So my O-line, giving them all the credit, they did a great job of just getting me open lanes so I can make one guy miss and I'll be off to the races. So that's how I got those yards, basically just making one guy miss and just going yard.
And Brett, again, if you want to follow up on what you had told me yesterday, which was you said it's not like we thought that he was going to rush for 1,000 yards. He just wants to win. He's been that way in all the sports that he plays. He's also a contributor on the basketball varsity. They've done very well the last couple of years. Could you talk about him as a player and as a person as well?
Well, as a player, I mean, I think the stats speak for himself these last couple of years, and obviously his recruiting status definitely, alone speaks volumes. I mean, you don't just, let's face it, Army West Point and a lot of the other schools that are calling about Curtis, they don't just call for anyone, right? They do their due diligence. So, one thing that I will say about Curtis is, there's an old saying here, at Hackensack, and one of the former coaches always says, he's not a me guy, right? He's not out there saying, I need the ball or I need this or I need no, he's not that. He just wants to win. And he's willing to put the team ahead of his own personal gain at all times. So even even when he had 6 touchdowns in the first half, he wasn't saying, "Coach, am I going to get a shot to break it, or am I going to?" No, it wasn't him asking that. It actually was the offensive line, and they were saying we. Right? So that's huge for our culture here at Hackensack. We pride ourselves on not being me guys. It's not about us. It's about the program. And Curtis backs that up as a leader tremendously for us. So that in itself speaks a lot of volumes about him and his family, and obviously the history they know about Hackensack football and Hackensack athletics.
Now, again, on this show, I want to honor some of the offensive and defensive stars so far the first half of the season. So if we could pop up the offensive stat leaders again. If you take a look at receptions and also receiving yards and passing yards, you'll see Riverdale Jake Sconza, quarterback, has thrown for over 1,800 yards. Not surprisingly, the leading receiver so far this year, Colin Quinn of Riverdale, he's got 46 catches, and he's also leading in yards with over 700. So that they're doing that through the air. Brett, I want to ask you, and Curtis as well, you're in your first season coaching your alma mater. How has it been now 6 games into the season, 3-3 versus back past the summer when you hadn't played your first game yet?
I mean, every day when I drive into work and you come in, I'm coming from a little further west, and you come in off 80 and you get to see that skyline. You drive into Hackensack, like it's awesome. It really is my dream job. I love every second of it. I don't take it for granted one bit, but I understand the responsibility behind it. So obviously being 3-3 and kind of in the midst of a playoff hunt here, the focus is really, ramped up these last couple of weeks. We know it's starting to get crunch time. We know what the expectations are at Hackensack. We don't take it lightly, and we definitely do not, look past any opponent. So our kids know that we have to work hard day in and day out to produce the results that Hackensack expects and live up to that standard that, Hackensack prides itself on.
Now, Curtis, how's it been for you and the other Comets to have someone come in as a new coach, but someone who also went through the football experience as an alum?
It's a blessing to have Coach as our coach. I mean, I trust him with my life. Our team loves him. We lift every day. The energy is crazy. It's just a great environment to be around him and everything like that, because even though he's very mature, he's not too far away from when he played 2007, 2006. That's not too far away. My dad actually coached him as well. So it's like a breath of fresh air. My dad, he's still around the program a little bit. He's volunteering, and it's a good environment we have.
We want to mention that your dad also a Comets player, as well as a former coach, also a basketball coach, also coached at Dwight Morrow. So he's a staple in the community, well respected, and obviously why you'd be referencing him. As far as your choice of picking to go to Army West Point, could you talk a little bit about why you think they're a good fit for you?
So for me personally, I had a lot of love through the recruiting process for myself, and I started to really pick up after last football season. And Army really showed me love since the beginning of the recruiting process. They didn't ask me about my size. I'm not the biggest dude. I'm not the smallest dude. I'm like pretty average size. They didn't ask me about height questions, weight questions, anything like that. Just like my player as a player, and they like my grades. So they just offered me, and I just figured that's the best place for me. And I think it will help me later on in life with my life skills and everything like that. I'll be a leader as soon as I walk into a job interview or anything like that. They'll assume I'm a leader and a hard worker.
Okay. Brett, over to you. And that is, what kind of expectations, if any, do you have for the remainder of the season? You referenced a postseason bid. Could you talk about that, please?
I mean, expectations, I'll be as coaching cliche as possible. We take it one game at a time. Staying around the coach's office, and really is like North Jersey football, and particularly the schedule we play at times, it's like the SEC. You play a lot of good quality teams. Like this week, we got a very good PCTI team. We're going up there Friday night at 6. And then obviously to finish out, kind of the month of October, we got a good Ridgewood team. So those are two teams high in our playoff section. So we got to just take it one game at a time, one day at a time, one play at a time, one snap at a time. So there's really no expectation besides the fact that we need to just slow it down, focus on what we can control, and win that play and be ready for the next one.
And Curtis, last question, and that is, what's the mood from the perspective of the players? Again, 3-3. Certainly last year you didn't make the playoffs because no one made the playoffs because there were no state playoffs last year because of the pandemic. Crossing our fingers, everyone's been given the opportunity to play their games so far. What are your thoughts moving forward?
I feel like we're getting hot at the right time, honestly. Middle of the season, starting to get hot, starting to gel more and more. The players are starting to come in, like we're starting to just get everything like coming together. And especially since the middle of the season, we're 3-3. That's not too bad. Not where we want to be, but we're getting hot right now, right before the playoffs. Win this game, hopefully win the next one, just keep going. 1 week at a time.
Okay. All right. Well, that covers it for this segment. Talking about the offense and people putting up some big numbers. I want to thank my guests again, Curtis Whiting, senior running back and defensive back for Hackensack, and Comets coach and alum Brett Ressler. Thank you guys so much for coming on. And now we move on to the next part of our segment here. Now we're going to focus a little bit on defense. It can't always be about scoring touchdowns and running for a ton of yards, putting up big points. Now we're going to bring on someone who's known for his defense. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Don Bosco, senior linebacker, Tim Hinspeter, and then Ironman coach Dan Sabella. Gentlemen, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm not too bad. I'm fired up.
What's up, Greg?
I usually, after the first couple of hits, my energy picks up as well. Usually before shows and games, I'm not that fired up. But as the game goes on and get the first lick in, I'm feeling good. Again, you're here because you are actually tied for the lead in tackles in North Jersey. There we are, top left, Tim Hinspeter, Don Bosco, 71, along with Zach Chestaka of Northern Highlands, undefeated Northern Highlands. How have you viewed your first 6 games of the season here for Don Bosco? 3-3, same as Hackensack.
Well, we finally just started gelling together and finally getting the chemistry on all 3 phases of the game, and I think we're just starting up, and I think it's only going to get better from here.
And Dan, over to you, because you've talked to me a couple of times about Tim. Tell our audience tonight what it is that you like about him. He was chosen preseason All-State at his position by our USA Today Network, New Jersey. Talk about his energy.
Yeah, Timmy's a guy coming off a great year as a junior. Was starting for us as a sophomore as well, and suffered an injury early in the season that kept him out most of the year. He came back and played great in the state finals. But he's just a guy who he only knows how to play the game one way, which is 100 miles an hour. He runs around. He loves the contact of the game. He loves to take on blocks. He loves to put his pads into people. And he's the leader of our team. And, just like I said, just sets the tone with just his style of play and his tenacity.
Now, Don Bosco playing at a very high level against a lot of strong competition. How is it that one player on such a high level has that many tackles? Usually at the higher the level, the more the tackles are spread out. Could you elaborate on that? Again, there are the tackles. Tim tied for first. If you want to take a look at sacks, Tommy Lee Minaya, Becton 13.5. He's running away with that race.
Yeah, it's no surprise to me because we see Timmy every day in practice when we go against our first team defense offensively, and he does the same thing every single day in practice. So he's so consistent. He's on special teams. He's going to have 2 or 3 tackles a game, covering kicks as well. And great effort leads to those type of results. And he only knows how to play one way. He's got TFLs, he's got sacks, he's got big hits, but he's also got effort plays where he chases a guy 20 yards on the other side of the field that makes the tackle. So, he's earned every single one of those.
Now, Tim, you alluded when you answered the first question about how your team has picked it up the last couple of weeks. You threw a wrench into the voters for the state top 25 for football by knocking off 2 top 10 teams. You beat then unbeaten St. Peter's 28-14, and then you beat Del Barton 31-10, I think it was. Why the turnaround or the rise in play of the Ironmen in the month of October?
I think it's just one word, and that's confidence. I think we're finally playing with that swag that we need, and I feel like once we got that, it was over. We're just all playing together.
Dan, your thoughts on that? You have a reputation for bringing a team along over the course of the season, getting them a lot better in week 10 than they were in week 1. Could you talk about, from your perspective, why after the 1-3 start, you were able to knock off 2 top 10 teams in the state?
Well, these guys are coming to work every day. They're putting the work in practice, and that's the blueprint. Just keep coming to work, keep believing, keep getting better. I feel like we're doing that. I feel like we got a lot more to do, and we're just getting going. I think we're just starting to hit our stride, and by no means are we happy with the last 2 games. We're looking to the next one and just playing better football and seeing how far we can take this thing.
Again, if we could pop up the stat leaders, I want to talk about a couple more on the defensive side. If you look at our interceptions, Donovan Swayze, Clifton senior cornerback, not only 5 interceptions, but he's returned 4 of those for touchdowns. That's remarkable. There are people who don't return 4 interceptions for touchdowns from first grade all the way through senior year of college, and this kid's done it in 6 games in his senior year. All right, back to you guys. Dan, why is it that the teams that you coach are able to get so much better? What have you learned that has allowed you to bring teams along from the preseason all the way through into the playoffs and have them be so much better than when you started the season?
I don't know, Greg, if I have the answer to that. I'm more concerned with why it takes us a couple games to get going. I'm more concerned with trying to figure that out. That's something that we'll sit down and try to do a better job in the offseason because we can't change that now. But I do know that, we played some really, I feel like we played a good team every single week all the way through, and we got another good one this Friday night. It's Timmy mentioned confidence. Some of these young guys needed to settle in a little bit and get comfortable, and I think they've started to do that. We've also had some continuity on our offensive line the last couple of weeks, but it's about making plays. It's about finishing. Our defense, I think, has played good in every game for us all year, and our offense is starting to come on, and our special teams are improving. So it's that complementary football that Timmy mentioned, and it's about being able to finish in the fourth quarter.
Now, Tim, Dan alluded to your game this weekend. You're going up against DePaul. I love DePaul's defense. I love your defense. I think that you might have 2 of the 5 best defenses in the state. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching you force fourth and long, both teams, and making the other team punt. If you want to talk a little bit, Tim, about your defense, what you like about it, and if you want to do what Curtis Whiting did, which is show some love to your teammates that are on the field around you, that might be good for your safety, keep you from getting hurt before you get to Friday's game. So who are some of the other kids, and why is it that you held St. Peter's to 14 points, and Del Barton, who I saw put up some points on Bergen Catholic, you held them to 10.
Mm-hmm. I think we're just very relentless, and we always came to work even when we had bad days, and we're just like, we play with swag, and that's what you need to play like as a defense. A couple guys I want to shout out: Jaden, he's my other linebacker; Polo, Plunkett, Nick Licurdo, the two safeties, Nick Severn, Courtney, our two corners. No one gets past those guys, Josh and Nas. And then our D-line, they've been playing real well the past couple of weeks.
And again, you're alluding to confidence twice, but confidence is often built through proper execution. What do you see from a player's perspective that you're doing better both on defense and even on offense and special teams to have improved so much from the first week of the season?
Just doing our job and also trusting the guy next to you, because when you know the guy next to you is going to do his job, you can just play relentless and free, and there's no worries.
Dan, if you do want to talk a little bit about this weekend's game, how do you think you match up with DePaul? What do you like about them, and what must you do to be successful?
Well, you definitely mentioned that they're playing really well on defense, especially their front seven. They haven't given up a lot of points. They're fast. They're aggressive on defense. So we're going to need to, obviously control the football, sustain drives, be able to try to, make sure when we get in the red zone, we finish our drives. Offensively, their quarterback is a really good runner. He's a good athlete. He can throw the ball well, but he's had a lot of success with his legs. And they've got some playmakers that they spread the ball around too. I think on paper, I think the teams match up, pretty well with each other. And you know how these games are, Greg. Who's going to want it more, who's going to play harder, and who's going to make the difference making plays in the game.
I think it's a 1 or 2 play game. It's somebody breaking a tackle or someone not making a tackle, and suddenly that 18-yard run or pass becomes a 48-yard touchdown. It could really come down to that. Again, if we could pop up the defensive stat leaders, I want to honor a couple more players. Well, actually, I want to honor Park Ridge's defense. They have 3 shutouts. They've only given up 21 points. The first-string defense has only given up 2 touchdowns. We're also looking at the offense. I failed to mention Ramsey putting up almost a point a minute there, averaging 43 points a game. That leads North Jersey. Very, very impressive. So as we wind down here, we'll call it the 2-minute warning for this interview. For the both of you, what kind of expectations, if any, do you have not only for this coming game, but for the remainder of the regular season, and then for the opportunity to have a postseason after COVID took it away from us in New Jersey last year? Tim, we'll start with you.
I think it's just to win the rest of our games and to finally have playoffs. Last year was terrible because the seniors didn't get to play, and I think it's just a great blessing.
Dan, same question, expectations for the remainder of the regular season and then heading into the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, look, Timmy said it. You go one game at a time. We've got a couple tough games coming up. We're taking it one game at a time. Friday night's our last home game of the year, so it's a big night for the seniors. We're going to be fired up for that, and then obviously get into the tournament and go win the tournament. That's what we all look forward to every year. We definitely missed it last year, and we feel like we can beat anybody. But we'll get to that when we get there. We still got to keep getting better every week and try to get as many home games as possible in the playoffs.
All right. Well, that does it with part 2, the defense part of our program. Again, I want to thank my Don Bosco guests, All-State senior linebacker Timmy Hinspeter and Coach Dan Sabella, who I have to mention I covered when he was in high school also I always like throwing that in. Now we're going to kick it over to my teammate, Darren Cooper, who is going to make his picks for this coming week. I'm sure that he is going to be making a pick on the Don Bosco DePaul game. So, Darren, if you want to take it away.
Thank you so much, Greg. So good to see you again and hear from the fine folks at Hackensack and Don Bosco. It is a very big football weekend. It is week 7 in North Jersey. Hey, week 7. That's my lucky number. I've got 5. Wasn't too lucky last week with my picks. I think it was because I was in Louisiana. I blame my sister. But anyway, this week, week 7, we've got 5 of the best football games in North Jersey this week. We start with one Thursday night. That's tomorrow. Clifton at Eastside. Now, this game is big now because both teams are coming off of a loss. Clifton's offense just didn't execute real well against Northern Highlands, and Eastside struggled and then lost. I told you it was going to be tough. Passaic Tech and Eastside, good young rivalry, those kids from Patterson. But I got to know, how does Eastside not have a kicker yet? Come on, Eastside. You're a big school. You're a great school. Can't believe you don't have a kicker. Good game. Going to be a physical game. I think I like Clifton. I think the Mustangs will find a little more offense than they had. Eastside's only scored 1 touchdown in 3 different games. That's a little troubling. So I like the Mustangs in a big one. Next Friday night, the one we were talking to Coach Ressler about a little while ago, Hackensack at Passaic County Tech. Man, I hate to do this to you, Brett. But I think, this is a must-win game for Hackensack. If you look at it playoff-wise, the Comets need this one to probably sew up a playoff berth. They get Ridgewood in a couple of weeks. That's not going to be easy. I don't know if 3-5 gets the Comets in. Passaic Tech. Hey, I've been waiting for the Bulldogs to break out. They might have figured something out. I got to feel like they're riding real high after the big win over Eastside. My pick, Passaic County Tech. All right, Friday night, another good one. Hasbrouck Heights at Becton. This is the hardest game for me to pick this weekend. Berth in the NJIC playoffs on the line. These could be the best 2 teams in the NJIC. We'll see what Park Ridge has to say about that. Becton, reporters are never supposed to say this, but I think I made a mistake maybe writing off Becton after that season opening loss to Hawthorne. The Wildcats have done nothing but win since then. They've played great defense since then. Hasbrouck Heights comes in. They've played really well. Their offense, too, has been a little suspect at times. So a tentative vote, but my pick is the Wildcats. Maybe just a little bit of Becton at home. Another one Friday night. 2 weeks in a row, Don Bosco has foiled me. I have predicted against the Ironmen in 2 weeks in a row. Maybe I gave him bulletin board material and fired him up. You never know. You'd be surprised to know that there are coaches out there who actively whisper in Darren's ear and say, pick against us. We want the motivation. Maybe that's what worked for Bosco the last 2 weeks. Big game Friday night. Hey, Bosco's 3-3 all of a sudden, man. They look legit. They get DePaul. 2 teams built on defense. Quayer Price has been one of the best players seen all year. Nevin Earl from DePaul has been a great player. I can't wait to see this one myself. I am not making the same mistake 3 weeks in a row. I don't care. I'm picking Don Bosco Prep to beat DePaul. I think that the Ironmen have figured it out. I think Ronnie Heath will have a just good enough game, score a couple of points, and the Ironman defense will shut down the Spartans. The last one, Saturday. We'll all be in Oradell. It's North Jersey's original rivalry, St. Joe's at Bergen Catholic. Now, again, much like Don Bosco, St. Joe's has kind of righted the ship. We kind of thought they would. But beating St. Peter's Prep, hey, you gotta put some respect on that. Now they got to take on the state's #1 team, quarterback Steve Angeli and the Crusaders. This is one of those, I heard somebody else say, throw the records out the window. That's such a stupid cliche thing to say. No, records matter, for crying out loud. Bergen Catholic is undefeated. They've been the best team, and now they haven't given up a point in 3 games. But this is really now the meat of the Bergen Catholic schedule. Their next 3 games will tell the tale of their regular season. That they have Joe's, Seton Hall Prep, and St. Peter's Prep. And who knows, by the time we get back to St. Peter's Prep in 3 weeks, St. Peter's Prep might be #2. Just don't see St. Joe's scoring enough points to keep up with the Crusaders this time. It's going to be hard fought. Going to be some blood on that field come Saturday. Going to be a nice day, I hope. It'll be a big crowd. Going to be excited. But I think in the end, the winner will be our #1 team in New Jersey, Bergen Catholic. I like the Crusaders to beat St. Joe's. That'll wrap things up for me for my Week 7 picks. Remember, you can see all of my picks. Yes, there are more on NorthJersey.com and in the record in the next couple of days. Back to you, Mr. Mattura.
Thank you very much, Darren, and thank you for watching. I'm Greg Mattura for NorthJersey.com and the record. This has been the Varsity Aces show. Thank you so very much. Have a great week and a great weekend, and we will be back next week. Stay strong, New Jersey.